Greetings, this is Jed Schlackman. In this short video presentation, I will be discussing the topic of metaphysical principles, what some people might call universal laws. These are principles that govern the nature of our reality, of what we're manifesting, what we're experiencing, what's being created in our lives. Teachings about these principles have been around for a very long time. In just about every spiritual tradition, you'll find what would be called esoteric teachings, the inner teachings, the teachings that relate to metaphysics, to these laws or principles that govern our reality. In this particular recording, I'll be focusing on the Hermetic principles. The Hermetic principles are principles that are attributed to teachings that were brought to our planet by the god Hermes. Hermes has been known by different names in different cultures. Hermes comes from the Greek. However, that same god is known as Mercury by the Romans, and it's been traced back to ancient cultures such as Sumeria and even to the Atlantean civilization. We can consider that this particular god character, Hermes, came from somewhere else in our galaxy, so it would be a very ancient being who brought this knowledge of the workings of creation, these metaphysical ideas, to Earth to in some way guide the development of civilization of those on our planet. Now, whatever the origin, whoever brought these teachings here, we can look at them and observe them in the world around us, seeing how valid these principles are in our daily lives. There are 7 principles that are outlined in the Hermetic tradition. You can find them in a book called the Kybalion, and they're also found in other Hermetic writings. The first principle is the principle of mentalism. Mentalism is the concept which teaches us that the foundation of reality is not physical, but rather it lies in the realm of consciousness. So that's where the concept that our thoughts create our reality originates from. We have to recognize that these principles cover multiple levels or planes of existence. So the consciousness that's creating this reality that we're experiencing is not merely the consciousness of our human mind. It's many different levels of consciousness. And thus our human mind, however strong or significant it may be, it does not totally govern what's coming into our reality. It's shaping or influencing it to some extent, but there are higher levels of consciousness that are supporting what manifests on this plane of reality. The second principle is the principle of correspondence. That principle states that what occurs on one level of reality is reflected on another level. It's been stated as above, so below, as within, so without. From that principle we can find the holographic principle, that the whole exists in the part. We can see fractals as a reflection of this principle of correspondence. So the macrocosm is reflected in the microcosm and vice versa. So that's a very important principle, and it's something to consider when we're looking at our own life and seeing how our inner thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are reflected in our outer experience. Now, the next principle is one that we can see very readily, even on a scientific level. This is the principle of vibration. Vibration is a principle that reminds us that everything is in motion. Nothing is actually stable or static. Everything is vibrating from the densest matter to the highest frequency of thought or spirit. And so with that we see that the only constant in life is change. Nothing is destined to remain the same indefinitely. The next Hermetic principle is the principle of polarity. Polarity lets us know that everything exists on a continuum or degrees. Nothing is truly absolute. We can look at things like positive and negative, male and female, good and bad, hot and cold, and see that there are degrees to any of these qualities. These things appear on a continuum, and in life we seek usually to find a balance between the polarities. So as we learn about polarities through our experiences, we learn to not go too far to one extreme or another. The next Hermetic principle is the principle of rhythm, and that principle relates strongly to the principle of vibration. So rhythm implies some type of motion. With rhythm, you see that there are cycles and patterns that are present. If you become conscious of the rhythms that exist in life and in the world around you, you can interrelate with those rhythms in a way that's more conducive to your goals or desires. You can also find ways to adjust or compensate. For example, when you become aware of the rhythm of the seasons, you can wear different types of clothing in order to adjust to those seasons. When it's winter, you wear heavier clothing so that you can keep your own temperature in more of a balance. Just as in summertime, you would dress very lightly in order to support that balance in your own temperature. The next principle is that of cause and effect. With cause and effect, we can see that everything in every level of reality is operating according to this principle, this cause and effect, or this action and reaction. So everything that we think, say, or do can influence what manifests in reality. So we're always creating causes and effects. We're creative beings. We're all part of the creative essence. So as we go about our lives, we want to be able to do that more consciously. So when we're conscious that we are creators or co-creators, that we are influencing what occurs around us, we are more deliberate with our thoughts, with our intentions, with our actions. And the seventh of the Hermetic principles is the principle of gender, which relates to some extent to the principle of polarity, for the genders are a type of polarity, male and female. Each of those genders exists within all things. Every atom, every particle actually contains the essence of the polarities. The male polarity is the polarity which contains the creative essence or energy. The female polarity is, in a sense, the womb of creation. So it offers that receptacle or that creative energy to bring about some type of manifestation or form. If we look at ourselves as human beings, although we appear externally to be of a specific gender, either male or female, we actually have the potential for both of those genders. We even see people that are transgender who, by just doing certain things with hormones and chemicals, are able to activate that transformation in the body from the physical appearance of one gender into the other. On the spiritual level, we are all androgynous. We all contain both the masculine and feminine essence. It is the combined use of those polarities that brings about creation. So the mother and father bring about the child. If you only have one of the genders, you can't create. So creation, generation requires the presence of both genders. And since each of us, at least spiritually, are both genders, we are all creative beings. Those who are able to study, to understand, and work with those principles that we've just reviewed have been known since ancient times as alchemists. Alchemy involves the art and science of transformation. And when we are able to master ourself, our own thoughts, our own will and desire, we are able to transform our life experience. We are also able to exert a certain amount of influence upon the world around us.